Welcome back to the Living Word podcast. And thank you to everyone who has just been bringing their feedback and just sharing that this living word is truly alive and being received in your hearts, in your minds, and helping you just find grace in your own lives through these vulnerable conversations. And today's episode 8 is a divine appointment. And I don't say that lightly. I am here in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia at my dad's cabin that we have been restoring to bring the essence of him back to life. And the incredible woman that I have the opportunity to share this conversation with today, I met her essentially through my father. And so the fact that this is the time that we're together to have this is no coincidence. There's no such thing. Yet it also brings me so much joy that together, Tamara, who you're about to meet, and myself, we get to harness this conversation in his energy. And so thank you so much for that. I am so grateful. And I read a piece of Tamara's bio and it really stood out to me because we know that words have power and that they are living and they are alive. And that's why it's so important for us to really be careful what words we use, what thoughts we think. And I read that the power in Tamara's presence is a force of nature. And just as the earth commands attention and awe effortlessly, Tamara's grace and expansive love will open your heart instantaneously. And this is something that I have witnessed being in her life over and over again. She is the bridge for people, the bridge for friendships, the bridge for people coming into resonance with their spiritual selves. And she's had over 18 years experience producing seminars and exploring the complexities of the human condition. And as a life coach, an emotional alchemist, and a grief guru, her and I also have another thing in common, and it's that our parents were pioneers in the world of holistic well-being. And I think that's something that's so beautiful. When I look at Tamara, like what you've done and what you're doing, who you've become, you've taken everything that you've witnessed from your mother and your family, your everyone, and you've brought it into this new era. And that's one of the things I think is so unique about your experience, that you not only have witnessed that in your own life, but you've also helped lead people to discover themselves. And you do that through one-on-one, you create experiences for people. We're going to share more about that later, but I think we can both agree right now that one of your superpowers is your intuition. And I feel that you have tapped into that effortlessly for a long time subconsciously. And now it's become very conscious in who you are and who you're becoming. And when we spoke last, you said something about seeking. And you've done a lot of work on yourself to embody these superpowers. And it's finally at a point where you really are commanding the truth of who you are. But I would love for us to dive in and just introduce yourself. And also, what does it mean to be a seeker? And what did that even mean in your own life?
Hi.
Hi.
Wow. What an intro. Oh my goodness. I love hearing other people talk about me. This
As you should.
It's like so rare you get to do that and hear that. So that's so lovely. I feel all I feel warm. Yeah, I feel like this has been so long in the making. I'm so honored to be here with you. We have this soul family that we both belong to, that your dad is also included in. And I mean, I feel so privileged that you're in the space that he built with his bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
For this moment. I'm so grateful. I'm just in awe of life, as always. It's so amazing to just witness the miracles constantly showing up. And I feel like that is times 100 when I'm around you. I feel like whenever we are together, it's like, bam, miracle, 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 miracle.
Receive, receive.
Yes. I'm always like, give me more Jen. I need her. Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit about me. Like you said, we have the common thread that our parents are pioneers is just the perfect word for it, because they were doing this work when it was just not done really. They were rebels, spiritual rebels. And so I feel we've always said that is, by we I mean my sister and I, that is forever our main inheritance that we got from our parents, that it is more wealthy than any financial means, than anything, is just this work that they tapped into and now passed down to us. And I now see it as a privilege. I previously saw it as my duty. It was definitely coming from a place of, well, I have to continue this work. Now it's my privilege to continue on the work. Took some time to get there. I didn't always feel this way. So now this is kind of branching into what it is to be a seeker. Because as fortunate as I feel that I just was birthed into, my parents literally met at a seminar, a wellness seminar weekend called Landmark Education. My dad speaks about this moment. My mom was assisting at the seminar. My dad was taking it. I don't know if it was his first time, but he was a participant. And my dad says this moment that he locked eyes with my mom. She was coming down the aisle, handing down microphones. And he said, that was the moment of your conception, that you and Danette were birthed in this moment, that we locked eyes. There's something clicked in the universe for your beginning. And it was just, he recently told us that.
Oh, wow.
Right? My dad is just such a romantic too. He's so amazing.
My gosh, I've never heard that. And now what a beautiful beginning.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And so he's like, you were birthed, you were conceived, not physically, but spiritually conceived in a seminar, in doing this work, while doing this work. So it just really has always been such a huge part of my life. And because of that, I've taken it for granted for a large part of my existence. I was pissed at it. I projected all of my rage at my parents and my family system onto the work, thinking that it was the work causing my pain, causing my sadness, causing my missing of my dad, or my not feeling connected to my mom at times, when they were really just in their own pain and their own grief and their own trauma, sorting their stuff out. But for me, I felt like this work can feel so lonely when it's being done from a mental projection. When I was getting all the concepts of emotional work, emotional bodybuilding, but I wasn't feeling anything. And I was completely repressing what was really there, which at that time in my life, I'm talking, this is like young, like between, I would say 9, 10, 11, 12 age. And then into my teen years, I really had a lot of rage going on. And so because I was unwilling to feel that and didn't feel like I had the space to express it, I wasn't actually able to start doing any of my emotional healing and my emotional work. So all of the concepts I was getting, and I was sharp. I knew it. I could psychoanalyze anyone at like 10 years old. I was like, this person is this way. This is going on here. That's their father issue. This is their this issue. I was so able, and I was often dead on, but it wasn't embodied. It wasn't healing anything within me. So this work can actually feel so lonely when it's not being felt, because it's so painful to understand the concept of what is wrong with me or what is going on emotionally for me, but not being able to actually feel it and heal it and sort through it. So all of that compiled into me being angry at the work, being angry at any sort of depth, any sort of conversation, because my mind said, well, this is actually bull. This is not true. Everyone's lying, because I don't feel good. And I've had this work my whole life. So
Yes.
why don't I now go into the world and abuse the shit out of myself and find other people to abuse me? And then maybe the work will come in handy at that point. So that's what I did. I went and I sought as much toxicity in my life as I could, and until all of that hurt bad enough for me to start being a true seeker, for me to really say, what was this? What is God? And what is that energy in my life? What is bigger than this mental projection, this brain that I have that is running my life into the ground? Because the moment that I started seeking something bigger than myself, my heart started to expand. And that is really when I became a seeker in growth, in love. Like, that's to me what a seeker is, someone that seeks love in every moment. And that doesn't always mean it's like happy-go-lucky kumbaya. Sometimes seeking love in a moment is screaming and raging, bawling your eyes out and crying. Like, that is love. And so, yeah, I just became real. I
Wow.
started really expressing myself in my truth rather than going into my habit of fawning and changing my emotions, changing my behavior depending on what's going to make other people comfortable. So how's that? Does that answer?
Oof. And you just held this beautiful mirror up to me at the same time, a mirror that I wasn't even expecting to see a reflection in today. I mean, I always do when you speak, yet from the inheritance, from a duty to a privilege, and even talking about the rage. I understand that because it was always like, oh, of course you're this way. You're your daughter. You're your father's daughter. And that made
Mm-hmm.
me so angry because I just so desperately wanted to be my own person. And I did the same thing. I took these detours that were very unhealthy in order to find like my own way and to be wanted and needed. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that mirror. I think that resonates with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
And this willingness to express. I remember there was a time where we were together and we had this like womb sisterhood moment. And
Yes.
this is like the first time that I really saw the essence, the deep essence of who you were in expression. And
Mm-hmm.
I was going through something, whether it was a cyst rupturing or something was going on, and it was very painful, very uncomfortable. If you want to know more about my womb journey, episode 2, I talk about my healing journey from 86 ovarian cysts. And so you can go back and listen to that. But I remember I was there and you just came into the bathroom and you held me and you like put your womb up to mine and you just were like, let it out, let
Mm-hmm.
it out. And I'm like, we could feel this like palpitation in our wombs together.
Yeah.
And it was like you like alchemized this like moment of total like unsettling emotion and pain. And
Mm-hmm.
we've been connected in that, but it was the way you just took me and held me and like you made me feel like I was seen, heard, and it was all okay. And that shows me exactly what you just talked about, how you did that outwardly for people. And then shortly after that, I saw you starting to do it for you.
Yeah.
And I saw you making choices for you. And I was like, so inspired because to stop dead in a path and redirect yourself in every way is not
My,
for the
that's my move.
lighthearted. That's my move. And it's so interesting because one of the things that I wanted to speak with you about today, it goes back to our womb sisterhood, that
Mm-hmm.
like understanding as a divine woman, like how much potency and how much power is in that womb space. But we dismiss it, right? We suppress it, we dismiss it.
Mm.
And you opened a big door for me that day. What probably was a small moment for you was a very big moment for me because I didn't know how to share and trust women. That was
Mm.
my thing. And so fast forward to our last conversations, you had an unfortunate event happen in your life where, a lot of that rage and a lot of that emotion, I'm just assuming right now, that was stored in those areas came up in a way that was not awesome in the human experience. And it created a
Mm-hmm.
lot of grief. And I would love for you to share a bit about that. And for all of you ladies out there, like, tune in a little bit closer right now, because this is about unlocking the shackles of not thinking that you can speak about the things that happen to your life and they don't define you. And Tamara, just thank you for opening that doorway for me to look deeper into my womb, and for now doing the same thing for so many other women.
Thank you. Yeah, where do I start with this? There's so much there. Yeah, just generally speaking, first about that womb space, it's something that I previously have undervalued
Mm,
as a woman, which is kind of crazy to think about now. Like, our womb is the basis of our femininity, of our womanhood, right? So to disregard it in the way that I have, and maybe other people can relate, is quite jarring when I think about where we're at in our society as women. Like, if even we are disregarding our womb space, then of course no one else is going to give a shit about it, you know?
mm-hmm.
And so I really had to care first for myself and that space, and not even just care, but be aware of it. Like, not, I spent my entire life up to this point that I'll speak about, not even considering that space in a spiritual way. Maybe biologically, I considered it, i.e., don't get pregnant, or what's my
Yep.
period doing this week, or whatever it, just the biological aspects of it. But I never really considered it as a sacred space, as a space to breathe in life, as a space to clear out old cobwebs and demons and traumas. It just wasn't considered. And so I had to consider it when I was in a new relationship. I was so happy and finally had found my angel, which is now my
Literally.
fiance. And he is literally, his name is Angel, but he truly was that for me. When I met him, I just felt home immediately. He is my person. And a little bit about my life. And I had never experienced this before. So I was in bliss, no care in the world. I was so happy and excited to just begin this life with him. We had just moved in together here in Houston, Texas. And we both, enjoy going to parties, and we were traveling and doing all these things. And it was such a beautiful space that we were in, pure love too. So makes it not a big surprise that boom, 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 we find out we're pregnant. And oh my God, was terrified.
Mm-hmm.
I was terrified. I was devastated, truly. I was devastated for like, it wasn't, I knew immediately that I wanted to have a child with this person. That is something that I think comes pretty quick when you find out you're pregnant. Depending who is the person you're with, you find out, you get honest pretty quick about how you feel about that
Totally.
person. So I was like, okay, well, this is my person. If I wasn't sure, I'm definitely sure now, because I had no doubt in him, but I had so much doubt in myself. And I just felt like it was so early in our relationship. I wanted more time for us to be together. And I just also felt so sad for this spirit, because I felt like my initial response of dread, I already messed up. I'm already a bad mom because my immediate thought was, I don't want this. And so I'm like, as someone that believes in our spirits, the moment that we are in this world, we are collecting energy. I'm like, I just shot this spirit full of negative energy of not being wanted. Like, now this being is going to forever have this feeling of not being wanted and like have to be with this its entire life. So I just felt immediately like a failure. I felt like I'm not ready. I can't do this. We're not ready. I had not even been considering being a mother at that point. And so, yeah, it was not a good beginning. And we spent time together, him and I, really talking, really just discussing what we're going to do and how we're going to make this work without it really being a detriment to our relationship. And really, honestly, just talking, like getting our fears out so that we could kind of get our brains around that we were going to be parents together. And thank God that I have this work, because that is truly what got me to the place that I needed to be to be a mother, to birth this baby. And I did some inner child work with some compassionate inquiry, which is Gabor Mate's technique of, and I sing the praises of this work so much because it's just healed so much for me, so much for me. So I'm doing compassionate inquiry and seeing that this fear, this dread, all of that is not me as an adult, not who I am today, not present adult day at the time 32 years old. Because at 32 years old, I felt instantly like a 12-year-old that's pregnant. I'm like, I can't be a teen mom. This is crazy. Right. Yet I was 32. So I just was able to release a lot of my fears and connect to the spirit of this being that was asking to come into the world. And my heart opened and I connected and I fell in love and was finally in complete peace, complete bliss, complete excitement, complete confidence in us, and knowing that, is it not ideal? Sure, but we can do this. And I got super excited. I got so happy and I felt ready. I felt like I was ready and I could do this. And then something that I did not cross my mind, I had not considered this even as a possibility, an option, anything. But at 12 weeks, we miscarried. And that just blew everything wide open for me. Like, I never thought that this was an option and that this was a possibility, because unless you're directly impacted, I really don't believe it's something that we consider that much. Yet now that it has happened, it affects so many women and men, so many parents. And so just to go to that moment when it happened, I mean, I thought I had experienced grief before that, and to feel that kind of betrayal from your own body was just something that I had never thought, I had never felt before. I felt like a complete failure, that it was all of my negative thoughts that did this, that I told God that I didn't want this baby and he took it away. So it's like, of course I'm responsible for this. It was so devastating. And then it also felt like I didn't have a right to my grief because I said I didn't want this. I said I didn't want to have a baby right now. And so I manifested this. I made this happen. How dare you be sad? Is kind of what my mean voice was saying to me. So that's how it started, and then just turned into the most beautiful experience of my life up to that point. So it was obviously that devastation, that level of grief, I had no idea could be so healing for me to release. I was projecting that all this grief was on this little spirit and losing this little spirit. But this grief was living inside my womb space. This grief was living inside my body for a very, very long time. And so I became so grateful for this spirit to come and teach me what was there, to help me release all of this pain that had been sitting in my body so that the space could be made for my now beautiful son to be here and to get the grand entrance of love that he received. If it wasn't for this beautiful spirit coming, and really I consider, because we didn't know the gender, but I consider them to be Aitien's older sibling, because that's what older siblings do. They pave that way for their younger siblings to have a little bit of an easier go. So I have so much love and gratitude that this was the purpose of this spirit, was to come and get our asses ready for him. I'm pointing because he's in the other room right now. But getting us ready to be the parents that he deserves. So as devastating as it was, it also was the starting point of my real grief work, of me really, going back to seeker. I thought I was a seeker before that. And then this just kicked my ass into healing, into feeling my grief, into truly connecting to God in a way that I had never connected to before. That this, I've said this ever since, that this being, this spirit, became my tether to the spiritual world. My love for this little being had me establish my ability to cross dimensions in our connection. So I truly feel like I have access now to the spiritual world, and I can tap in whenever I want. It's like the superpower unleashed afterwards, that this grief and this love made me, I still can feel their spirit. I still can tap in whenever I need to this being and my love. And so that just now gave me access to my own spirituality, to my own psychic abilities, to my own intuition in a way that I never really had access. I feel like it existed, but I didn't have the access to it because my brain was in the way. My mind was logicking, rationalizing, and using logic to analyze and to think that things aren't possible, that now this feeling was too big to deny. So this thing that was my biggest heartache has become my biggest gift. I give gratitude daily still. Every time that I look at my life and I look at where I'm at emotionally, where I'm at, where I'm able to be as a mother, I'm forever grateful for the grief that I experienced. And even then, so speaking of grief, this now became tenfold in my pregnancy, which I was expecting to be in this bliss and joy, but now having a pregnancy off of a miscarriage. And I mean, I had one miscarriage. I know that there's women out there that have had many, many, many. And so I cannot speak for them. I can only imagine the level of grief that they experience in pregnancy. But I was really taken taken back with the amount of grief that showed up once I got pregnant. I thought I had healed so much. It had been time had passed and I felt healed and complete. And I was already in gratitude for this being at that point and was okay, I felt. And then I got pregnant again. And that grief just came and it hit me hard again. And I had no choice at that point to truly put my tools to the test. And it, as this grief was coming in, releasing, because I was like, this is not touching my baby. Like, this grief is not going to affect this baby. I'm releasing. So I did, the time that I was pregnant, I did the most work. I was a ninja with my trauma. And yeah, it's just, so that was something I didn't know or expect, was the grief that I experienced in pregnancy. Of course, grief of the miscarriage, but also just grieving myself, grieving this person that I have been my whole life, that I am now no longer going to be once this baby is born. Even at the point of pregnancy, you know, I truly believe you become a mother once you are pregnant. Once you say yes to caring for this being, whatever stage they end up at, you are a mother at that point. So truly, I had changed as a person when we first got pregnant, but I was really feeling it this time because it just felt like I knew that this was going to happen, that this being was going to be born. I could feel it. Was the fear was there the whole time that I could lose this baby again. But in hindsight, it feels like I knew that he was coming, you know, this spirit of my now son. I am here and I want to be an adult already is the spirit that I get from him. Like he brings some energy. So yeah, I was just grieving myself as a woman up to that point, in who I thought I was, what I thought I had to offer this world. Everything changes. And so, yeah, there was a lot to grieve throughout my whole pregnancy. And it really gave me a different level of understanding of grief and how layered it is. Now, grief is so juicy. I am in love with grief now. It is my favorite thing to feel because grief is so connected to love for me now. And so if I tap into that grief, I feel deep. I feel bottom heavy. I feel immense. I feel God. I feel connected to spirit. I feel huge. I feel so big and deep and in so much love and gratitude. Like, all of that is now wrapped into grief for me. And I previously had thought grief is only sadness. It's only anger. It's only loss. It's only loneliness. And it is those things too, wrapped in a big ball of love, because we don't feel grief unless we feel love first. And the deeper we grieve is the deeper that love goes. So they are holding hands, and there's so much beauty in that.
I feel that you are so brave.
Thank you for holding me in that space and allowing me to share.
It's life-changing. It's like, oh, we paused for a moment.
You.
It's am I back?
I lost your audio.
Am I back? It should be back. I think we're coming back. Here we are. Am I back? I think I'm back.
Your audio is back. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're back. this will be edited out, but for those of you who weren't here after Tamara's story, everything stopped. There was a pause in all of technology. And I think that was the universe's way of saying, take a breath, both of you,
Mm.
because for all of you listening, I'm assuming you had a very similar reaction to me, that Tamara's story of grieving her miscarriage can show up in our lives in so many ways. And I think you're brave. I think you're bold. I continue to learn from you. And one of the biggest messages I take from this is, you said that love and grief are holding hands, and we wouldn't grieve without love. And that's something I've never heard before. And I'm going to take that into my toolbox, because I've experienced a lot of grief in different ways. And one of the things I've learned is that when you are on your knees begging God to, why me, why this, why
Mm.
now, there's a certain level of humility and nobility that show up that was not available before. And I'm not saying that things have to be hard in order for them to be good, yet the human experience is so multifaceted. And the way you just wove so much learning, acceptance, and just healing into that conversation, I am so grateful for you. And I know that myself and all the people that work with you are so blessed from your truth, because your vulnerability is your superpower. And I cannot imagine what you went through in that time. No one will ever understand, because they weren't there with you and Angel. Yet I have personally witnessed the upgrade of you as a human, as you as a spirit, as you as a mother, a sister, a daughter. I watched you online, and I remember texting you being like, you are a radiant goddess more than ever before. And I believe that it was, yes, this beautiful being that was growing inside of you, but I also believe it was the releasing and shedding of that deep grief and suppression that was in your body. And so I
Yes.
also just take a moment to thank that beautiful being that was your
Mm.
teacher
Mm.
and that connected you to other realms. And for any of you listening to this who connect with Tamara's story, or maybe it invoked an emotion in you that you didn't know was still there, we're here to say you're not alone. And we don't need to go through these things alone. And one of the things that you and I are both advocates for is creating a space where you can be held. And
Mm.
Tamara, you've held space for me. You said compassionate inquiry earlier. I remember doing my session with you, and it was like sparks flew in my spirit, because I was able to have someone who I trusted hold space for me to also grieve. And so I believe that you right now on this adventure of really accessing those deep layers, those shadows that sometimes we don't want to shine a light on, but really they bring out the essence of who we are growing into. I think it's a privilege to work with you. And I could go on about this story, but the truth is that my life has changed from this conversation. And there's so much that I get to process now, and I know other people do. And I just want to thank you for being this open book and just being such an advocate for women to be fully human and fully in tune with God at the same time. And when you guys see on the reels and the stories that I post with this episode, look at Tamara during pregnancy and with her son, because you will
Mm.
see a radiant goddess that will inspire you to just honor yourself as a woman even more. And, I can't wait for us to continue this conversation. But before we let you go today, there are opportunities for you to work with Tamara. She has an amazing retreat that is going to be so special with her sister and her mom, that is coming up in October, that I'd love for you to touch on. And also, you take people one on one. And I want to share that right now, because whatever you're experiencing listening to this, whatever is bubbling up, my ask is that you please allow it to come up. Please write it down. Please
Mm.
cry if you need to cry, scream if you need to scream. Whatever it is that is showing up, allow it to be released. And then if you feel called to have space held for you, whether it's myself or Tamara or someone else, just know that you are worthy and deserving of that. But one thing I know for sure is that the people that feel called to work with you, Tamara, it is one of the best decisions they'll make. And so could you please share a little bit about your upcoming retreat? And I'll put all of the details in the show notes for everyone.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. We are holding a retreat outside of Austin, Texas, called the Raw Retreat. It's the Radiant Awakened Woman Retreat. It is going to be facilitated by myself, my sister, and our glorious mother, who she's just is a beacon of love that has guided myself and my sister through so much. And it's through witnessing her courage in her emotions, in her trauma, in her grief, that has given me the courage to do my work, to never stop. And so this is going to be our first official co-facilitated event. We had one a year ago, but we hadn't fully committed as a company together. And so now it's the three of us. We are committed. We have formed our company. It's named after our grandmother. So there's just so much ancestral matriarchy energy in this company and in what we hold for people. So this retreat is going to be for women only, but in the future we'll be doing both men and women, different styles of retreats. But we really felt like it was potent to have our first, as a company, our first official retreat that we're holding just for women, to really cement and give a foundation of the sacred femininity that we are born from, and to hold space for women to give back to the space that was held for us. Yeah, so there's, so much of what is going into the seminar, but join. If you're a woman, join. That's all I can say. It is so earth shattering, transcendent. You are going to question everything about yourself and come back and with a bigger understanding and a knowing of yourself and your purpose. Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about these retreats are what each person brings, the connections that are made from our previous retreat. All of these women, they are like besties now. They all are so connected still. It's like immediate finding of your tribe that is just so beautiful to witness. It's truly my favorite part, is just watching the deep connections that flourish from having this space to be your true self and being seen in your truth and being accepted and loved for the parts that you maybe have hidden in the past or hidden from the world, exposing those and being so held in that pain or in that ugliness maybe that you might consider of yourself, I think is just so healing. So it's just such a beautiful thing to experience and to witness. And yeah, I don't know. I'm so attached to like the essence of it right now that it's hard for me to actually talk about it. But it's just such a beautiful experience. I can't wait to do it again and have more retreats in the future. But this one, yes, it's October 11th outside of Austin, Texas, in this amazing space. We're holding it at a ranch that is just very cool. They have cold plunges and saunas, and it's going to be a whole experience. And yeah, it's going to be beautiful. I'm so excited. Yes.
Well, and in a world where one of the big reasons I wanted to have this conversation and share your retreat is because I feel like we live in a world where there is a lot of suppression of the feminine and masculine, while at the same time there is so much space for us to fully be expressed. And I think when we come back to that really deep essence of womanhood, of the nurturer, the caretaker, the supernatural within all of us, the spiritual advisor that every single one of us as women carry. I believe that it's important for us to be led by people who have radical honesty about where they've been and where they're going. And that's something I see with you, Danette, and your mom, is that, hey, we're still here doing the work because it never ends. And also,
Mm-hmm.
we are going to lay it all out on the table as vulnerably as we can, because that's what the world needs. And leadership in truth, and leadership and vulnerability, and collaboration as women is what is going to change the world. I truly believe it. And
Absolutely.
having healed healers, and I'm not saying that the work is done, but having people to hold space for you who have authentically gone through those motions of healing themselves is what makes this world a better place. So if you are interested in going, please get your spot. I cannot wait to meet up with you and Danette afterwards and do a recap together. And I just
Yes.
thank you for everything today so much. And if you want to contact Tamara, know more about Tamara, go into the show notes and everything will be there. And I just love you so much.
I love you so much. Thank you for who you are in this world. You are just a shining light, always. I'm so grateful that we found each other again.
Me too. I love you and thank
I love
you.
you so much. Thank you so much.